Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start the next series, a reading vlog for my channel, and this is going to be the vlog for the Rook and Rose trilogy. So we're starting out with Mask of Mirrors, and we're going to read the whole trilogy and discuss here together. The way this works is that I will always update you when I'm halfway through a book and then when I have finished the book. And I will also do spoiler parts, but these will always be clearly marked so you can jump over them if you haven't read the books yet. So fear not, you will not get spoiled if you pay attention. We are going to start this reading journey. I actually already started the first audiobook and I will listen to all of these on audio. I get the audiobooks on Libro FM and I'm very excited to dive deeper into this. I know that this is a fantasy series that has kind of a Venetian inspiration because it also has like a, what do you call that, like a mask ball, like a ball where everyone wears a mask. There's a word for it. I forgot about it, whatever. So I think we're following a young woman who is trying to infiltrate a rich family. However, the problem is that the family is not actually rich anymore and they're trying to hide that. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. And I have already done so many reading vlogs for series, so I will link the ones I've done this year down below if you want to go and check out more. But for now, let's get to reading. So it is time for the first update because I'm now halfway through Mask of Mirrors. And first of all, I think I want to tell you a little bit more of what this book is about. We are following our main character of Ren, who takes on the persona of Renata to infiltrate a kind of noble house, I would say. So we are looking at this kind of world where we have a colonized area. Basically, there's the city and it had been taken over by colonizers before, and then there were like fights and a war, and in the end there was kind of a treaties that the colonizers would be allowed to stay in the city, but all of the land around it was kind of freed in a way. So we do have this like interesting structure of like people in power where there's like the colonizers on top, but then there's also kind of like local noble families who are like below that, and then it goes to the lowest of the low. And Rin is one of those. She grew up in poverty with her mother, who was kind of a fortune teller in a way. They do have this magic system around these cards that are very much reminiscent of tarot cards. So the mother of our main character was reading those to kind of try to survive, and then something terrible happened and our main character was on her own and she got sucked into kind of like a child group of like little criminals that was ruled by this one woman. And so she had like a terrible childhood and now she's kind of back to infiltrate this noble family of the colonizers and to kind of get back at them all in a way. So that is Ren, our main character, and we do have kind of like a couple of characters of interest around her. For one, there is the family she's trying to infiltrate, and since I'm listening to the audiobooks, I'm very bad with names because I am very bad at repeating things that I hear. So while I hear it, I know exactly who everyone is, but I'm not very good on like repeating that out loud. What I hear, I have to see it to kind of make the connections. So I'm very sorry if I don't remember the names or I get the names wrong in all of these clips that are going to come. But we have this family that she's trying to infiltrate, and we have three people in that family. We have a mother, a daughter, and a son. Now, the mother, Donaya, I think, she is kind of frugal. She's trying to keep the family together while they are in very much like financial struggles, and they have lost a lot of their power in the last couple of years. The son, Leado, is kind of he's trying to pretend to be like a very easygoing guy who is living the luxury life, but he seems to have his like own secrets. And then we have the daughter, Juna, I think, and she is very much like still growing up. She's right at this like moment where she's kind of starting to enter society, and she's a little bit like innocent but also like sheltered. And yeah, our main character, Renata, in her persona, enters this family and pretends to be the long-lost daughter of the sister of Donaya, who left the family in disgrace. So that's kind of that setup, but we do have some other characters as well. We have some characters that are not the like colonizer people. So we have a man called Wargo, who is kind of a criminal supermind who is running a lot of the like illegal activity in the city, but is also trying to use his money to promote his position in society in general. Then we have a woman who is basically the sister, like not by blood, but by lived experience of Ren. Don't remember the name right now, but she is a very talented seamstress who is helping Ren with her con by providing like very beautiful gowns that are made of like scraps basically, but because she's so talented she can pull it off, so that Renata is known as a very fashionable person as well. And then we have a man called Sedge, I think, and he was a childhood friend, basically the brother of the two, and they were like children together basically, and they're bonded like really tightly. And then we have this guy, Serrato, maybe, and he is basically a cop. They're called hawks in this world, and he is one of the colonized people, but he works for the colonizers as a cop basically. So he is not seen as like a great person by his own people, but he has his own reasons for what he's doing. And he had a brother, and the brother worked for this family that Renata is trying to infiltrate, and because of that, Serrato and Leado are friends, even though they shouldn't be. Like, they're on like very different like strata in the society, so they should be friends, but they kind of are. And so it's a very complex net of these characters. And then obviously we also have some characters who are on the like villain side. There is this one family in particular that is trying to bring the family that Renata is trying to infiltrate down, and so we have them as kind of like the villains of the story. And then there's a very interesting character that is basically Zorro. He's called the Rook, and basically he stalks the city at night, and he's doing some justice. So we don't yet know who the Rook is. I'm very excited to find that out eventually, but there are some hints in the story who it could be. And Renata also has some run-ins with the Rook in the first half of this book. So that's where we're at. That's kind of like the net of the characters, and it's all in the first half of this book very much what you would expect. We have Renata running her con, we have this family she's trying to infiltrate who are slowly like warming up to her because she is not only like a nice person to be around, but she's also helpful to the family. And then we have kind of the villain people who are trying something, we don't know what yet. And then we also have Margot, who has his like own power plays that he's doing, and he also uses Renata in that. And right now, like pretty much halfway through, I was like shipping everyone with everyone. They all have like a lot of tension, and this also feels very queer normative. So when same-sex sexual attraction or romantic attraction is discussed, it never seems to be something irregular in this world. So that is always really nice to see in fantasy. And so we do have some same-sex attractions going on as well with some of these characters. But yeah, there's a lot of tensions, and I think because a lot of the characters are not truthful, they're not trusting, they have like interesting chemistries, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I love to read about. I love me some like morally gray characters who are messy, who are ruthless. I love that and I eat it up. So far I'm having a really good time. I feel like this audiobook is kind of curing my audiobook slump I was in April, which also had to do with like stress levels and all of that. But this book is definitely getting me really hooked, and I'm always excited to pick it back up when I do chores around the house or I walk somewhere and I put my little audiobook on. So that is fantastic. I'm having a great time so far. However, now it gets a bit weird because I had seen on a Discord where a readathon or like a buddy read for the series happened a year ago, which I completely missed out on. But I had seen that apparently chapter 12 was like a special chapter and not necessarily in a good way. And so, yeah, I just finished reading chapter 12 and I have no idea what's going on. Like, this chapter kind of like levels the playing field, turns everything on its head, and I feel like the rest of this book is going to be very different from all of what we had so far. So I think the first half, kind of predictable, you're like kind of going along and it's fun and you're figuring out all of these characters and who's striving for what and who has which goals, and it's like very kind of political but also like intriguey, and also, as I said, a little bit like tension here and there. But now I have no idea. I have no idea what just happened. I have no idea where it's going from here. And yeah, it's just an interesting experience. And I have read a couple of books now where I feel like at the halfway point through the first book, something happens and suddenly I'm like, what? Like, what's happening? What's going on? I don't know. So I am having fun with that. But I'm also intrigued to see what will happen now and if I will enjoy the rest of the book as much as I did the first half, because yeah, the first half is kind of what I was going for when I picked up the series. So what? We'll see. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave this update here. It's already very long, but I hope I could like give you a little bit more of a feeling of what's going on in this story and the different like connections that there are. Moving forward, I don't know if I will talk about like certain characters in the spoiler-free parts, just because I have a feeling that not all of them will survive very long, and I don't want to spoil anything about that. So if I never mention any of these characters again, I just don't want to spoil you. So I might have to keep some things like very vague in the future updates. We'll see about that. Yeah, that's the first half of the first book. Let's do the rest of this, and I'll talk to you when I've finished Mask of Mirrors. So, I have now finished reading Mask of Mirrors, the first book in the Rook and Rose trilogy, and I'm here to tell you all about how much I loved this book. It was so great. It was so amazing, and I can't even tell you. I gave this book 5 stars. I was debating a little bit whether it's really a 5-star because I'm kind of stingy with my 5 stars. But then in the end, I couldn't really say why it wouldn't be. I think this book has a lot of the things that I like. It has kind of a heist plot. It has dream magic. It has kind of nightmarish magic. It has monsters. It has kind of a dingy city. It has like this idea of race and this like racially charged conflict, and yeah, there's just so much in here that I absolutely adored. So in the end I decided, you know what, just give it those 5 stars and don't be a little bitch about it. So that's what I did, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. The ending was very powerful. Like the last couple of lines, I had goosebumps. It was so good. And I think in general, while this is a little bit like twisty and turny and kind of goes on little tangents sometimes, I think it just was like a really like plot heavy ending as well. Definitely some like actiony bits, some fights. You definitely feel the stakes with this series a lot, or with this first book in the series. I think that some of these characters, it is just so interesting because we do get like different POVs, and so we do see into their heads more than the other characters. So with some of these characters, let's just say that our view of them might be a little bit different from what other characters are seeing right now, especially at the end of the book. But then again, it's juicy. It's juicy. I can also say that I honestly shipped everyone with everyone in this book. Like, all of these people are kind of smart, a little bit ruthless, and great. Just lovely. Also hot. Let's just say that. We do have kind of like our main character and 3 men who are kind of in play. So I'm intrigued to see how that ends. We also have this like very lovely relationship between our main character and her kind of best friend slash sister. I think their friendship is also really nice, and I would love to see more of that in the rest of the series. Tess has to be protected at all costs. She is so great. So yeah, there was like this one moment where something is kind of hurting Tess, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart. It shattered it. I was so angry, and I'm intrigued to see whether that will appear again in the sequels or not. But yeah, it's great. It's just great. Go read it. I think that's all I can say spoiler free. It is a fantastic story. I love these characters. I think the mysteries are very intriguing, and I was definitely there for all of it, like every step of the way. This cured my audiobook slump I was in, and I'm very happy about that. So yeah, I think I want to go into a couple of spoilers now for the people who've read the book. And if you have not, then please use the chapters to jump over this next bit so you can hear my spoiler-free thoughts on the second book. But for all of you who have already enjoyed this book or the whole series, let's discuss a little bit, because a lot is going on in this book. I think I want to start out with the obvious, and that is Leato. Leato is kind of a sweet bun. We still don't know like everything he was up to. However, the moment he and Ren kiss, I was like, this is too soon. This is way too soon. This cannot end well. And oh my, was I right? I didn't see him like just dying like that. But I was like, this is like way too early. Why do they kiss? And then it made sense, like when he was like, you know. So yeah, we lost Leato pretty like early on in the story, which was really interesting. Like, I have read a couple of books now where important characters die at the halfway point of the first book, so that seems to be something people do. But yeah, I didn't see it coming, but I also had a feeling like something was up when they kissed. I still think he was an interesting character, and I definitely miss him. Like, he's like a person that you just miss in a way, which is very interesting, because the characters don't really have a lot of time to miss him, because like the plot is just like moving forward, so they have to keep up. They can't just sit down and like mourn for a while. Then we have Serrato, and he was like my first guess. I swear I'm not making this up. He was my first guess to be the Rook, because it just makes sense, kind of. Like the other two options we have, they are too obvious in the books and they don't actually make sense. So first of all, Ren thinks it's Leato, which no. And then she thinks it's Wargo, which no. So it can only be Serrato, and then at the end we learn that it is Serrato. But also at the beginning of the book, where it talks about Serrato's brother being dead, and that he thinks that the Rook is responsible for it, he just felt so much about that I was like, I think he's the Rook himself. He's blaming himself. Because like if he isn't the Rook, then that is just one of the rumors. Why would he be so upset with it? So yeah, I had that feeling like very early on, and he was also the only one that Ren never really suspects, even though he makes the most sense. So that's kind of like the thing. So I wasn't really surprised that it was him in the end, but I was liking that because Ren and the Rook definitely have a little bit of a flirtation, and Ren and Serrado do have some scenes that I thought were really nice. And especially when they were like dancing together and stuff, I definitely like I felt a little something there. And I think that Serrado is feeling it too, but he doesn't want to. I think Ren is just a little bit like too like wrapped up with all of her other stuff to really think about that too much. But yeah, I'm liking it, and I'm intrigued to see where that goes, because I think that the Rook and the Rose will probably have more time to spend together in the sequels, so we'll see. And then we have Wargo, and Wargo is an interesting character. Now Wargo to me is kind of a grown-up sexy Cass Brecker. So I definitely see some like Six of Crows kind of compatibility with this book. I think that people who liked Six of Crows will definitely love this series. So yeah, Wargo definitely has that vibe. He's also kind of like a bi icon to me. He is kind of hot, and I don't like saying that, but he is. And these like there is these moments where I think we as a reader see so much more of him than anyone else, especially also towards the end when he is destroying this Luminat thing. Is that what they're called? And he's like physically suffering, but he is determined to destroy it. And just the way that he's doing it, I don't know, I felt so much for him in that moment. And then we have all of these revelations that might be true, might not be true, might just be power play, about Wargo being behind a lot of the things that happened and facilitating the evil guy. What's the truth, you know? He is ruthless, for sure, but he also has a goal, and I don't think he's inherently a bad person. And I think especially also when he enters the dream kind of nightmare world to go look for Ren, and we see that his nightmare is that he is basically just a prostitute and not this like crime lord that he turned out to be. I also kind of felt that like he just had to build himself up from like the ground. Basically, he had nothing going for him, and so I kind of like that. I kind of like him being so ruthless, but not coming from like a bad place. Basically, he's just trying to make it in this world, and he's trying to play by the rules, but not play by the rules to win the game that was rigged against him. And that's something I can support. So I'm definitely intrigued to see where the relationship of Wargo and Ren will go in the sequels. I am definitely very intrigued. Now, Ren is a fantastic main character. I really, really like her, and I think again, her grappling with her past, with her mother, with the way that she killed Androkia as now an adult woman, and also protecting her siblings is so interesting to see. And I think there's so much character development as well, because she really is growing in these like footsteps, because she's pretending to be Renata, so she has to be kind of someone else, but that also influences who she truly is. And I think that is just such an interesting way to portray and to follow as readers. And yeah, there's really just nothing bad I can say. I love the whole like nightmare thing, while nothing or some things are not like explained in like the tiniest details how they worked out, I think I can be okay with that. But yeah, with the Sleason and this like dream realm that you can enter, and I also really love the mythology that we see, how there is these invaders and colonizers who are trying to take the power away, but then also the people who try to protect their mythology and their beliefs. And that's just very interesting to see, and also something I'm intrigued to see how that will develop in the further books as well. Overall, I can't say really anything bad about that. As I mentioned, that moment with Tess, when it turned out that the cute bread boy was actually one of the hawks, oh, it broke my heart. Like, Tess is such a little angel. She's so talented. She's so loyal and fantastic. And seeing her having her heart broken was probably the most horrible thing in this whole book. Like, Leato died, but I was like, don't break Tess's heart. Because yeah, she is so wonderful. Like, she's really the heart of the book, and kind of like also a little bit of the conscience of Ren. So I love Tess so much, and I really want her to be okay. I also really like the development of Juna, and I'm definitely intrigued to see what happens with her, like where her character will go, because she has already grown up so much. She had to, because her brother died, but then also because she feels herself being pulled more and more into these like tangles of like power struggles, and she knows if she wants to survive that, she just has to grow up and has to learn how to play the game. So definitely intrigued to see more of that as well. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say for now. I thought this was absolutely phenomenal. I love the world, I love the magic, I love the characters, I love the plot. So I can't wait to start book 2. I will have a little bit of a break just because of a readathon I'm doing, but after that, going straight into that book 2. And one of the reasons I decided to in the end give this book the 5 stars is because I immediately wanted to start book 2, and so I will do that very soon, and I'll be back when I have reached the halfway point of that. So I'm now halfway through Liar's Knot, and I'm also about to travel to go to Mallorca, so I don't really have a lot of time right now. I'm gonna keep this update really short, but in this one we are mainly following the same characters as we did in the first book. I really like that this book starts out with a recap of the things that happened in the first book. That is very helpful if you're not like me and you don't read the books all in one go. So yeah, definitely appreciate that when series do this. I really like the way that the story is going right now. I feel like that our main characters are working a little bit closer together in this one, and they are yeah, there's a lot of like tension and back and forth between like who can they trust, and Ren is still trying to figure out who the Rook is and all of that. I think it's interesting because we now know who the Rook is, so we do have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to that. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the story. We definitely still are in the middle of these like political intrigues, and I feel like while the arc of the first book was kind of closed in a way, we still continue on in a very similar vein with similar players and a similar like overall theme. So I do really enjoy that because I was intrigued to see where the story goes now that the first part is kind of finished off. So I'm having a grand old time with it. There was also a scene with a cat. I don't know if the cat will pop up again, but just that scene was so precious and so glorious. And you know, you add a cat to the mix and I'm all here for it. I will listen. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the read of the second book as well. One thing I think is a little bit sad is that we do see not quite as much of Tess in this one, and there is a reason for that. However, I still wish there would be a little bit more. Apart from that, though, I think this book so far is really good, and we definitely have some great character moments already. Also, some like sad and a little bit heartbreaking ones, and there's definitely some action. I think the whole thing with the Rook and the Rose gives me like anime vibes, because they have this like kind of transformation when they put on their hood and their mask. So I think that's quite fun. I also really like the way that the Rook is like trying to hide from Ren, even though that comes at a very high price for him as well. So yeah, overall having a great time, and I can't wait to listen to more. I expect that because today is a traveling day, I will do more audiobook listening. So that's why I wanted to quickly film this halfway update to let you know how it's going. And yeah, let's see how the rest of this book goes. So, I'm currently on vacation and I finished reading my audiobook Liar's Knot, so I'm here for the update. And similar to the first book, I absolutely loved this one. I had the best time reading this book and I would highly recommend the series still. I think that it is just so intriguing and fun. I love following these characters. There's just so much going on with the religious part, but also the political part, and also the characters and their dynamics and their relationships. And it's just everything I want in a fantasy book. So I'm having the best time. This one I would probably also give like a 4.75 stars. I have very similar feelings as I do with the first book. I think I will give this one like officially 4.5 stars, not 5 stars as I did with the first one. And mainly that is because with the ending, I just wanted a little bit more. I feel like the ending of the second book is a little bit more unsatisfying than the ending of the first book, because we do have like a very like traumatic thing that happens at the end, but it doesn't like get completely resolved. It leaves like a lot of stuff to do for the final book, which obviously makes sense. Like we still need to have like evil things happening in the last book so we can fight it. But I just felt like there were like just like tiny things in the end that I was hoping would go a little bit like more to our characters' plans, and I can't really talk about that because it would be like all spoilers. We will get to that in a minute, but yeah, just some things that happen at the end make me very curious to see what happens in the final book, and I will definitely get to that very soon. I will take like a tiny little bit of a break, but yeah, I can't wait to read that last book and find out what happens to our characters, because things were rough. But yeah, I overall had just an amazing time with this. I think these books might be consumed better as physical reads, just because there is so much going on, and I just always feel like a little bit I'm missing out because I'm reading the audiobooks. And obviously now with being on vacation, I had like a very like up and down experience, where on some days I would listen to quite a lot because I would be on the bus a lot, and then other days I would not listen to it for very long because I only listened to it while getting ready and stuff. So I think a book always suffers a little bit when I have these like very tumultuous changes in how I listen to the books. But apart from that, I'm like fully hooked with the characters. I feel for them so much, and I think the relationships that they build are so interesting. I'm definitely also intrigued to see, especially with our like main three characters that we have now, how that will develop in the last book, because I always hope for like some kind of like triangle situation in the end, but I'm not quite sure whether we will get it here, so we'll see about that. But definitely there are a lot of like character moments also in this book that I very much appreciated and was waiting for, and was very happy when they finally happened, and there is more to come for sure. I also really loved that in this book we got to the point where our characters finally had to be more honest with each other and tell each other more about their personal truth. So I think because of that, now the characters have like a very different understanding of each other, and I think that was also like very needed and is very much appreciated by me. We still have like a fascinating world, a whole like plot going on with like religious powers, but then also political struggles, because people want to use those powers to just be powerful and be the ones in power. And we still have, like, as I said, like these like very interwoven threads between the characters, and some know some things, others know other things, and all of that. So it's like still a big tangle, and I'm having a great time untangling it with these characters. And I think the whole idea with the magic is very fascinating. However, I must confess that a lot of it I just accept. There is a whole like magic system behind it, because we do have like different kinds of magic, and some are more like scientific than others, but I just accept it the way it is presented to me, and I don't like question it. So I can't really tell you whether it really makes sense in the end or not. You will have to figure that out for yourself if that is something you deeply care about. What I like more is that it is magic that just feels very expansive in a way, and it feels like there is always more to explore, even though the rules are quite clear, I would say. It's not like, sudden things pop up and then you're like, oh, this is also something we can do with the magic. No, it's not like that. It's more like there is magic, but the way the people understand it, they haven't really explored everything about it yet, and that is like very fascinating to me. And going onto this like journey and figuring out more and more about this magic system is really cool. And I think in the final book is probably going to get like even more intertwined, the like different magics that there are, just because of what happened. That is to be expected. Definitely still loving the series. I think I want to go into a couple of spoilers, so if you have not read this one yet, use the chapters to jump over the next part to get to my spoiler-free thoughts on the final book. But if you have read the series, let's discuss the second book. And let's start with the character moments, because we all know that's what I'm here for. And we do finally have Serato and Ren kind of showing their feelings to each other and being honest with each other, and that was great. I really enjoyed that. I think that having these moments of like joy and love and truth and honesty between them was so well done in this book. It definitely like matches well with like all of the like more terrible stuff that is going on. And I think also because like Serato tried so hard for Ren not to figure out that he is the Rook, that I was glad that there was this moment when they were like, okay, no, now now she has to know. And how all of that came together with the plot as well was like really interesting, and I definitely really enjoyed it. And I think the whole like imbuing thing is still the thing that I understand the least about this world. So the whole like Rook situation and how you can kind of feed yourself into him and stuff like that, I would not say I understand, but I think is very fascinating. And especially if we consider the ending of the book, where Serato is not the Rook anymore because he broke this bond to save Ren. So I'm very intrigued if we will get a new Rook in the third book. No Rook at all, because it felt like not only did he like destroy this bond, but also kind of destroy the Rook itself, because it was so close to its purpose, and then he was like, no, we're not going to do that because it will kill Ren. So it seems like the Rook is gone for good, which interesting to say the least. Ren still is the Rose. We'll see how that continues on in the final book. I'm definitely intrigued about that. And then we also have the situation with Wargo. So I really like the way that at some point they had to come clean to him as well, and he also like told, like the way that he is like connected to Alcius, to Ren and stuff. And I think that I really, really loved as well, like the whole thing, like with Ren and Wargo just getting drunk and telling each other like what's going on or what has been going on. I did really enjoy that, and I had a really good time with that chapter. It's like I can picture it in my mind, and it just fits them so well. And I still really hope that they will, like, I don't know, I like Wargo. I want him to be happy. I want him to find his happiness, and I don't know what that would look like, but I definitely want him to. A lot more like knowledge between the characters like definitely helped to balance the story out, in my opinion. And then also with like Tess and I forgot his name, whatever, but that they know now about Serrato, and that Ren and Serrato are kind of a thing, and it's like so cute. Like her little family is so adorable, and I think that is one thing that I would criticize about this book, is that we did not get enough of Tess and Sedge, that's his name. But yeah, we do get Tess kind of accepting the apologies of her like sweetheart little guy, whatever his name was. So that very much appreciated. But I feel like because of the roles that Tess and Ren are playing right now, they can't really interact a lot in this book, and that was definitely something that I just felt the lack of, and the characters do too. They really miss each other, but I as a reader also miss them like being together and working together. And yeah, we'll see about that. Like, Tess really had her moment when she was abducted. I loved that, the way that she got herself out of the trouble by herself, and she didn't need to be rescued by her sweetheart guy. So I loved that chapter. It was really great. But yeah, overall, I need more Tess, and I need more Tess and Ren together. So I definitely want to see more of that. Also, Juna is one of the characters that I felt like she does have her moments in this book, but compared to the first one, she definitely also falls to the sidelines a little bit. When she has her like final kind of fight with this woman, whatever her name is, and she's like, you know what, you threaten my family, you get out of my face. That was like glorious, and I think seeing Juna grow is great, but we can definitely see with Tess and Juna that their ways were leading away a little bit from Ren in this book, and Ren was just like so focused on Wargo and Serrato that there wasn't really room for much else, which is also reflected in the characters. Like, they talk about it, especially with Tess and Sedge, but yeah, as a reader I still just missed them, and I wanted them to be more prevalent in the story, I would say. For the plot, I think it's like really fascinating, but I'm reading this for the characters, so I don't want to like talk a ton about the plot apart from what happens between the characters. As I said, like, the Rook is gone. That's like definitely one big thing that quite shocked me. We do have like more people dead and like houses falling and the curse and stuff like that, so that's all very interesting. I really loved that we got this glimpse into this like Caius Rex person, and how he initially used a sorcerer to create this chain. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how that will play into the final book and the way they can ultimately destroy all of the medallions. So definitely think that's so fascinating, and the whole magic system is like so interesting to me, and I'm having a good time. I'm going to continue having a good time with this series, but mostly I'm here to see that my like precious characters are fine. They must be well at the end of the series. So yeah, I think that's what I have for you. I will definitely read the last book, and then I'll check back in with you again. It is kind of sad to go from the Mallorca updates to this, but I'm now halfway through Labyrinth Heart, and I think it is time for a quick, hopefully, update. Now, can I even talk about this book spoiler free? It is very hard. It is very hard because like a lot has happened. A lot of things have happened. And I can't really even talk about kind of the goal of our characters at this point because there would be like so many spoilers in between. So this is a hard update to do, but I'll try my best. Basically, our characters are now on a journey to destroy something, and I love that this forces them to work together like closer than ever before. I love these characters. I love their dynamics. I think that we have like some great character moments in this first part. There is also kind of a trial element that also includes a tiny little bit of fake dating and kind of like fake being like antagonistic with some of these characters, which I thought was like really fun. Even though it lasted like a very short time, I thought it would be dragged out more, but I still had a good time on that. I always love a good like trial element in my books, and I think the whole thing was just kind of like a fun little addition, and it just brought the characters closer together in a very interesting way. Now, at the halfway point, something is happening to one of my favorite characters, which when you're right like halfway through, it is kind of resolved right now. But like that was like terrible. Like, why did that have to happen to my character? That was rough. That was rough, you guys. But I'm just so intrigued to see how these characters will handle the rest now. There's definitely still a lot of like mystery going on, especially with kind of like the magic systems and the mythology and the history of the place. So we're still uncovering a lot of that. We do still have kind of like that magic that is very dreamlike, where we have this like realm of minds that is going on. So I love that. We have like some characters right now that are quite at odds, and I'm intrigued to see how that will be resolved. We also get the, I don't want to say return of a character because we haven't really actually seen that character before, but like someone pops up that I did not expect, and they're definitely bringing trouble. So that was a whole thing, and I'm also still intrigued to see like the repercussions of that, but also like how the characters will actually deal with it. So there's definitely a ton of stuff that is happening in this book, and that is like really intriguing me for the second half. I feel like with my current like audiobook listening, this is just a series that maybe I should have picked up as physical reads because everything is so intricate, and I feel like I would love to like really dive into the story, but because like I'm listening to it on audiobook whenever I have time, like here and there, it's like not quite as organic as I want to dive into this world. So I think I am hindering my enjoyment a little bit myself because of that. But like if I just take the story and what's going on and these characters and how much I care about them, I think that things are going like very well. I'm really enjoying this final book, and I'm really, really intrigued to see like how it ends, where we will get in the end, how these characters will end up, like what their truth will be in the end. There's a lot. And so I think I'm just gonna go into this second half, and I'm just gonna enjoy the ride, and then we can talk about it. Okay, I can't quite believe we're here, but I finished my audiobook of Labyrinth Heart, and with that I have finished the Rook and Rose trilogy, and we have come to the end of this series reading vlog. And wow, it has been a good one. This has been just a really good one. So I gave this last book 5 stars as well. I think that the ending was really great, and I think that it definitely was satisfying. We got a lot of like great character moments in this book as well, again, especially towards the end as well, but also just like throughout. It just was like what you would hope for with all of these characters and stuff. So I can't really say anything that was wrong with this book. There was a moment where I felt like the kind of big thing, the kind of climax of the book was happening a little bit too early. So I got confused and I was like, what's gonna happen with the rest of this book? But then it actually turns back around and it actually makes sense in the end that there is like more to come, that it wasn't quite the way that we and the characters thought it was. So I think that overall this was just a fantastic fantasy series, and if you enjoy books that I like, fantasy books that are like about interesting character dynamics, that have very smart characters, very kind of driven characters, ambitious characters, but in this case also very caring characters. Like, these people want to achieve some good for their city, then I think you will absolutely love this. Plot wise, I think that enough like really engaging stuff happens in this one. This is definitely a series where there is always something going on. Like, if you start with the whole like con thing, but then it just turns like so much bigger and so much more is at stake. So I think overall this series delivers on like everything a little bit. I also enjoyed the world building, even though it feels very contained, because we are in the city the whole time. So even though we hear a little bit about the world outside the city, I still felt like the world is a little bit contained because we don't leave the city, and it's very much about like the role of the city for the kind of like future of this whole kind of continent. But yeah, I feel like there could have probably been a little bit more world building, or maybe it would have been easier for me to follow as well if I've read these books not as audiobooks. So that's definitely something that I was thinking about a lot while listening to this. While I enjoyed the audiobooks, especially also because it really brought to life the different accents of the story, I also sometimes thought I should be reading this physically right now to really take it all in. So I am definitely open in the future to reread these books and maybe read them physically as well, just so I can get the like nitty gritty of the story as well, because sometimes I feel like things went a little bit just over my head. One with the like world building and the different kind of countries that are described, but also with some of the side characters that I just had a hard time keeping track of throughout all 3 of the books when they survived that long. So all that to say, I absolutely love this. It's very complex, but very fun. I think that if you're a fantasy reader, you will probably like these books. Very much like female-driven story as well. A lot of the important characters in this story are women. However, we do get the full spectrum. It's also very queer in its core, because this world is more like queer normative. So same-sex couples aren't frowned upon or anything like that. And it's just great. It's really great, and I just love the way that these characters came together and how they grew together and what that meant for their story and for this city that they tried to save. So yeah, loved it. I'm really just here to gush, so I hope that's all right with you. But I think that's all I'm gonna say for the spoiler-free part now, and I would highly encourage you to pick the series up if you haven't already. I will talk a little bit spoilers in a second, but for everyone here who hasn't read Labyrinth hard yet, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a fun time. I hope I could convince you to read the series now. Definitely let me know in the comments, and also leave a like, because that always helps me out. But for everyone everyone else, let's talk a few spoilers about Labyrinth Heart. And I, as always, don't quite know where to start because so much was going on in this book. But I think because it is something that I care about the most, let's start out with our characters. And at this point, we have established the romantic relationship between our main character Ren and the Rook, aka Gray. And in this one, we get a little bit of a fun twist because so far they had to keep it kind of in the shadows because everyone thinks that Ren is this noble person. She would not really be allowed to officially date Gray because he is not the right ethnicity for that. However, Ren isn't really that, so it's all not like that serious basically, but they have been in the shadows hiding. But then we get this opportunity to bring the relationship to the light through these trials. And I love trials. So to make things less obvious that the goal is for Gray to win the trials, they have this little scheme that basically Ren and Wargo are kind of not fake dating, but like kind of fake dating. So basically everyone knew that Ren had a secret sweetheart and a lot of people thought it was Wargo, and so basically they played this up a little bit during those trials. And so also we get this like fake kind of rivalry between Gray and Wargo, which is not real at all, but it's like so fun. It's so fun. I think they could have done even a little bit more with that, but even the way it was in the book was already so fun, so good. Like, I love messiness, and so this whole situation with those trials was really fun. Now, one thing that definitely I had not in my bingo cards was that Ren's mother would actually show up. Now, obviously, she's not her real mother, but the mother she claimed, so she could start infiltrating House Trimentis. But yeah, the woman shows up. The woman is just as obnoxious as you would have thought from all the stuff we have learned about her in the first two books. And you immediately want to kick her into a canal and just be done with it. I despise this woman so much, and the way that things don't really have consequences for her is a little bit infuriating, but at the same time it leaves room to grow for our characters, because for one, she is the one that spills Ren's secret. So basically Ren was always waiting for this perfect moment to tell the Trimentis that she is not actually who she claimed to be, but then Latilia does it for her. So basically now Ren has to deal with the consequences of the secret not only being out, but having been told in the worst way possible. So I think that led to a lot of growth on her part, where she had to kind of overcome her fear of being rejected and still try to fix this relationship. But even more so, I think it was an interesting way to grow for Danaya, because not only has she like the chance to deal with her sister, who has been like the cause of so much pain for her family, and Danaya kind of has the choice to deal with it in the way they would have dealt with in the past, to punish her and get rid of her, or to get rid of her in a way that, I don't know, makes her live with it, I guess. So I thought that was very interesting, but then also Donaya has the chance to forgive Ren for the lies again, which honestly she has to do quite a lot. But yeah, I think I really liked the way that this was dealt with, that it was not like immediate, but you can definitely see them kind of coming around throughout the rest of the story. So I definitely enjoyed that. Still wanted to kick Latilia for causing that whole scene. It was terrible. But then we also have the wedding of Ren and Gray, which was lovely. I just really enjoyed that whole scene, especially when Wargo and Sedge brought in the, what is it, the Kosar or something like that. So the thing that Ren thought was lost, that is kind of the symbol for her family relationships, and so she finds out which family she's actually from, and the way that this like almost killed her with like joy, and it was just all so wonderful to see. And yeah, just like Ren finding a home, finding happiness, finding a family is just so nice to see. And obviously things are not like easy. We also still have the whole situation with her actual father, who is this like scientist kind of dude that is stuck in the realm of minds. So that's also why she has these special powers, because it's like not normal that your father is not a person and not a full like person anymore. So that was quite interesting as well. I just really enjoyed the way that we got to see more of these family clans as well. We have the whole situation with kind of like the Lost clan that they figure out was this Leeson all along, and then they save, and also the connection Grey has with them was quite interesting, even though it got like a little bit fiddly at that point. There was a lot going on, and I don't know if maybe it was a tiny bit too much going on, but it was definitely a lot going on. One more thing I want to touch on is Wargo. Now, Wargo needs to be protected at all costs, and he's really going through it again in this book. I feel like he had a lot of terrible moments with this whole thing. Now, obviously, he's still getting a reward with his friendship with Ren and Grey, and also just like coming out of his shell a little bit, and he achieves like the big goal, like what his life was like built towards as well. So on the one hand, I would say Wargo gains a lot, but he has to pay a price. Like, let's just say that. When they kind of like ruined his like thingy, and he was basically like dying very slowly and stuff. That was not nice. He did not like reading about that. The whole thing with Alcius at the end, oh my god, it was so heartbreaking. I think they have such an emotional journey in this book with like, you know, the way their relationship started. It was really not under a good start, but the way they found each other and like kind of helped each other grow in a way, because like Alcius also changed a lot from the moment he met Wargo as a kid. So yeah, the way they finally can also talk about their feelings and share their feelings and all of that, it was wonderful. But then we have Alcius' decision in the end to leave into the realm of minds so that he doesn't have to live in this spider body anymore. And obviously that means that he will still have a connection with Wargo, but it won't be so immediate. They won't hang out like every day anymore. And it was still so sad in a way, and it made me very emotional. Like that whole thing. Like I was cleaning my flat listening to that. And I was sweating, but I was also crying. So yeah, it was very sweet, and I just really liked all the character growth that we got to see. I still feel like we got a little bit not enough Tess. I always want more Tess. Tess is amazing. She is so great, such a great character. And yeah, I wanted to see more of her, but because how things are going, I understand why she wasn't in the story more. But when she was in the story, she was a shining star, and I love Tess. So overall, just amazing. I think I've yapped enough about this series. You're probably waiting for this video to be over, so I'm gonna do you that favor. Let me know in the comments below what was like the things you loved most about this. For me, definitely it was the characters and their dynamics and interactions, but also the whole idea with the medallions and the powers that they gave. I really enjoyed that part as well. Maybe one more thing I haven't mentioned yet, kind of the obvious, is the whole like Tanaquist situation. It just shows that you need some ethics if you want to do research, because yeah, she's like so driven by this need to figure everything out that she left her ethics far behind. I was kind of surprised by that twist. I definitely did not see it coming. Like I knew something was up with her, but I did not expect this to be up with her, because even though we don't really like get to know her like really well, and that's something Ren also acknowledges in the book, I still felt like she was one of the good guys. So her being like kind of sucked into everything yeah, it was a surprise for me. I definitely did not see that coming. That's it. That's it from me. That are my like immediate thoughts after finishing this series. I had a fun time. I had a great time. I would highly recommend. And I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. But make sure if you leave comments with spoilers that you mark it clearly so nobody gets spoiled by accident. And thank you so much again for watching. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!